schools in Nigeria teach majorly theories.
So if you are a Christian, then your
surest banker is the Holy Spirit.
To success, right? But what if you are not? You can't become successful? My guest here today is Best Amakhian, who is the creative director and the founder of Glitch Africa. This is the company that owns the Honest Bunch podcast. You have the music aspect of your company, and then you have the podcast aspect. As someone who is in the creator economy as well, how do you decide that this is an aspect that is going to be booming in the next few years? So let me get myself in there. How do you decide that?
Attention is a huge currency. You cannot even monetize a brand if you don't have attention and the right attention. Maybe I should start with what it takes to really build or be a brand. I think first,
you built a podcast in Ghana as well, Rant Bands and Confessions.
Yes.
You did a few episodes, but then we didn't see it again. What's happened? You're welcome to Connected Minds podcast. My name is Derek Abaite, and I'm your host on this platform. If it's your first time that you're watching us, please subscribe, like, and share. Now, if you didn't know, you can listen to Connected Minds on any audio platform that you listen to your music on. Just search Connected Minds podcast, and you can listen when you're driving, when you're at work, at a gym, playing golf, or in a busy traffic somewhere in Lagos, Nairobi. But today I'm taking you to Lagos. My guest here today is Best Amakhian, who is the creative director and the founder of Glitch Africa. This is the company that owns the Honest Bunch podcast and a few other things that he's doing. He's actually well endowed with businesses. And I love how creative he is. He's been able to create this platform that cuts across several African countries. It's the biggest podcast in Nigeria and many other African countries. Today, you're going to learn how, as a creator, you can make money, how, as a person, you can discover your purpose and walk into really what you have been designed to do instead of living life on default. Stay with me. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you for having me. I'm blessed.
Because you're Nigerian,
Yeah.
Today we are in Lagos.
Oh, I see.
We are in Nigeria.
So I'm pretty much very African because I'm everywhere these days. But
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Originally, yes,
Yeah.
Nigeria.
In fact, in the next few weeks, people are going to be seeing a lot of Nigerian content on our podcast.
I see.
So it's a great time to have you on,
Amazing.
right? I want you to talk me through why you decided to be a business person.
Okay, I think it's because, of course, upbringing. My parents were, my mother was very industrious, though she wasn't successful, growing up from a very poor background. During my, what you guys call junior secondary school, I realized that, we are really poor, because we couldn't afford, they were always chasing me from school for school fees and things. So for me, I didn't really like that. I knew I needed to use my brain to get out of this, loop. So it was a thing for me. So I started to see what can I do? So I started learning how to play guitar, how to sing. My dad owned a lot of books, because he wanted to really be like a professor, but money couldn't, So in my house, my dad bought a lot of books. I was reading some of the music books, heavy music from Oxford. And so I was reading a lot of music theories. So I was pretty grounded early in music, So I knew, hey, I'll probably do something around music at a very early age. But I wanted to be a musician. Yeah, because I used to watch Michael Jackson, the tour, the one where I think it was Super Bowl. That I really loved that video. So it was kind of implanted in my mind.
So you can dance.
We all tried, but that didn't work. I wanted to really be like a superstar as a young child. I wanted to tour the world. I learned how to play the guitar. I was playing the guitar for a while. So when I got into school, I was pretty good. I could sing. People thought I was great. In school I used to sing. In church, I was in the choir. I was pretty solid.
For you, that was your
starting point.
Your starting point.
Yes.
That's how you thought you were going to be rich?
Really, yes. I saw myself like touring the world at that time, if I'm being honest. And I was really dedicated. I used to wake up at midnight rehearsing. I really was serious. I thought, I was going to be a superstar. For me, the hindrance was, let me just leave, because it was a small city in Nigeria called Edo State. It's very tiny. I thought when I moved to Lagos, maybe when I'm able to afford that, I'm going to want to land in Lagos, I'm a superstar. That was my plan. I was just waiting for the right whatever would really take me to Lagos. Of course, my parents couldn't afford all that. So then, uni. I was in uni and I had financial issues. My parents couldn't afford, to pay my fees. So I dropped out of uni. So I was thinking, what do I do? I started working menial jobs. I first started teaching primary school, but the pay was too small. So I started selling in traffic. This call it semovita. It's like poundo floor. And they pay more. But I wasn't the most articulate. You need a lot of energy and you need to convince people while they're on the bus to buy stuff. So I wasn't, so I got another job printing recharge card for someone. So that was really how I started really gathering, little change. And I could save a little. I was saving quite, reasonably in my standard at the age I was a teenager. So I was like, okay, I gathered a few. I'm like, okay, let me go back to school. Then tech was picking up. I was sharing web design, hearing multimedia. I was like, okay, let me, instead of going back to university, maybe let me get a skill, let me train myself, let me save, at least let me get able to make some money. So I went back to a diploma at NIT, it was a technical school for web design, mobile application design. I wanted to be like a tech bro then. So I
Skills.
So I went, I enrolled, but it was a top, so school for the elite.
Okay.
I thought my mind was, let me just go in. I'll figure my way around it. But it doesn't work that way. So I used up my money to enroll and paid the year one fee. It was a 2-year degree.
You paid it yourself?
Yeah, I paid it myself, the money I saved. Yes, I studied then. I enrolled for multimedia technology. So the plan was at the end of that, I was be a great web designer and the editor. Like, how to design a website, how to edit videos. Just wanted to at least get a job with that where I go back to university. So I started. Of course, year one, I'm pretty, academically, I'm pretty sound.
Right.
Yeah, in school I was up there. So I knew I wouldn't struggle with learning and stuff. So I started year one, of course, I could learn basic. Schools in Nigeria teach majorly theories.
There's no practical aspect of.
Nah. And we expected practicals. I enrolled because I wanted to at least learn this and get a job or side gigs and stuff. But it was more theories. We didn't know it was just theories until the end of year one. They send you for internship. When you return from internship, you then final year. So they sent us to they were looking for placement for us. The only place they get us was a TV station, Silverbird Group. It's a TV, one of the biggest TV stations there. They sent 12 of us there, But the TV station there, because they're so big, they do a lot of selection. They needed just one person. They're like, okay, they're gonna, do like an examination sort of for 12 of us. And like, okay, the best performing wherever gets the internship role. They didn't tell us this. They were like, okay, we should just come for interview. So the interview was a practical one. They just they brought a screen. If you can do, they'll point a thing to, if you can do it, go this way. So with 12 of us, we're just lining. They'll point at you. Can you design this? Can you? So I said no, but I can learn it. Fortunately I was the last person on the row. So we start. Everyone will say no. They'll say you go that way. For me, this was my hope. I knew, okay, if I'm here, if I focus a lot here, I can learn something. Maybe even give me a job. So I was, what do I do? What do I do? They got to my turn. They asked me, just point one thing like a montage on TV. Montage is what they play before a show starts on TV, like a motion graphics thing. So they showed one thing like that. STV News just popped up. So they asked me, can you do it? I said, yes, that's easy. That was just me lying. I didn't know what that was. I had no idea. I just lied. We're like, oh great, at least someone took their training seriously. I was just saying, God, what next? Say what they interpreted me. So they then asked others to go downstairs. Then they called the head of TV or someone to take me to another office for examination, like a practical. Let me show what I can do. Yeah. So they took me to an empty room, gave me a laptop that designed something for us. I think someone was there just watching me. So they gave me a laptop. They opened one software like that. After you said, I knew after you said, then I didn't know what it was because they never showed us all that. I was looking at this thing, God, no idea what I was just, what do I do? So I had to, just someone of courage and say, the guy that was, monitoring, like, please, I want to speak with you. I called him and said, please, didn't teach us all this thing in school. I don't really know. But I have, faith. I know that if I spend max 1 month here, I'll be very valuable to you guys. I pleaded, please, I really need this internship role. I was just begging that, please, can you help me? I promise I won't disappoint you. I beg, I spoke English, spoke pidgin, I was just laughing. I said, "Gosh, no worry." And he liked my confidence. So he took me upstairs to the boss's office and he lied that, "Oh, yeah, I saw him. Guys, it's not bad, but with just a little brush up, it will be very, valuable here." But okay, cool, cool, cool. Can go home tomorrow, resume. That's how I got my internship role.
Do you know there's a Bible verse that says that the violent takes it by force?
Yes,
You grabbed it with two hands.
I did. It was a 50-50, but it worked. And really, all that I am today, that's what started it. If
One decision.
just that. My mindset then was, because my parents were poor and we lived in poor environment, I wanted to always associate with those from the islands, those who were, so I was always living in our area and weekends I'll go to, I'll just be around trying to, so because I didn't like the environment I grew up in. So even that school, it was on purpose. I knew that rich kids attend that school. I knew I wouldn't put my worst case, I'll drop out at least after I'll miss friends. So, for that was the mindset.
You were designing your life.
I was unknowingly though. So that's how I got in. To Silverbed. I was an intern in the production department.
While doing all of this, did you actually think you were going to make money? Like it was going to eventually work out?
Yeah, I knew if I just take my life a bit seriously, I would somewhere along the line something will happen. If I really just be serious with have a plan, be serious with it. Definitely, all doors will open. Yeah, because also I'm a Christian. There's a thing of faith. Pray. Of course, I pray a lot, and my parents are clergy. So there's this faith side of things that if you really just take action, take steps, and God will speak to you or do this, do that. Yeah. At the time you said I should lie, it was a last minute idea. Just say yes. What will happen? They won't arrest you. Worst case, they'll catch you. And effort, at least you tried. As opposed to saying no. Everyone who says no before my time, it will take it to the left. Yeah, so what do do I stand to lose? I'd rather try that. And it worked. A month later, I could edit basic videos. 2 months later, I was really, really good. Before the end of that year, I was the best in the department. Even the guy who took me there, I was way better than him. Because my house, my parents, it was very far from the office, from the studio. I used to sleep there. So I'll bring clothes from the house. At night, I'm watching YouTube videos of how to do motion graphics, still image. I was like a wizard at it. Like really, really good in a short time. Like better than everybody there. Like even the head of the department, I was like, everyone realized. So it made me full-time staff.
Based on what you said, it's like there's a clear difference between the people that, I don't want to use the word success, but maybe I should, right? The people that walk in their divine purpose and the people that don't, that get pushed around, and the people that actually say, yes, this is the life I want and I'm going for it.
I think audacity is a thing that you need to either learn or be born with. But you need it. Especially if you're like me, you come from maybe a poor or a not so privileged family. You need a lot of audacity. Else, you don't have like a parent, an uncle or sister who put in some rooms. So you need to have a lot of guts.
Yeah, but it's that same thing that makes a lot of people also go into things like scamming. It's the same audacity. It's just a different.
But then now principles, yes, of course. You also need principles on of audacity in the right thing, of course. But you need audacity, a lot of it. Especially as an African, a black man, you are naturally life is winning you 1-0.
Yeah, when Nigerians go into another country, a lot of people associate Nigerians with audacity. You're in a country that has over 200 million people.
Yes.
To the average African, Nigerians are very audacious.
Yeah.
Not everybody there has become successful.
Yes.
There's still a lot of struggle.
Yes.
There. Why? If really audacity is needed to create success, which you may be right.
Yes.
Then we should see a lot more Nigerians.
Yes. No. I think it's not a Nigeria thing. It's a human thing. It's a personal thing.
Okay.
When you have clarity and you know that, this is my situation, I really do not want to continue like this. And every day you wake up, you are sure that you really, I think doors will open. It doesn't matter how underprivileged you are. It doesn't matter if you are in the deepest of the village. I think if you wake up every day and you're like, I don't really like my situation, I'm very certain doors will open.
most people don't like their situation. They simply don't know what to do about it.
No, I think it's, I don't like my situation, but I don't want to do the work that it takes to get out of that situation.
You think people don't want to do the work?
Yeah. I think people think prayers and my helpers will come and meet me and take me to that level. No, I personally do not believe in that. I think two things. Everyone, you either hear visions or you think through your problems. If you're in a situation, you either maybe some people are skilled enough where the spirit, maybe they're in their sleep, they get this dream or they see that they know what to do. But others, people like me, you need quiet time. You need to be your own friend. You need to be alone time and think, oh, I'm here. The more it's like playing football. The more practice you do, the better at it. The more you exercise your thinking, the more ideas you get on what to do. Tomorrow, try an idea. If it's not working, keep thinking. Oh, as you move around, you're looking at that same. Oh, I need to break out of this loop. Ideas will come. The more as you keep trying them, one definitely will work. I'm very certain. But you just need to keep trying. But many people, they try once, maybe, and they feel like it's not for me. Maybe someone will come. Maybe let me just keep waiting, or let me just keep praying.
You really do think that religion is what has created a lot of dependent mindsets in people that is not making them become.
I think people misinterpret sermons. Prayer is great, but your part, you have to play your part too. See, I needed to make a move by saying yes before the helper decided to help me.
Well, somebody would translate that as a sin.
As a sin.
Right. There's somebody on this side of the screen.
Yes.
That will say that I'm a Christian and I'm not supposed to lie. Now, I want you to really get into the mind of this person. I'm not supposed to lie. When I'm faced with an opportunity like this, if I tell the truth,
yes,
God may create a way for me.
Yes.
But if I lie,
yes,
it becomes a sin, and I may not even get the opportunity.
That's a good question. This is can you do this thing? I can do it if you teach me. I can do it with time. It wasn't I scammed you thing. I robbed you of a thing. It's a question of ability.
But would you understand the hesitation in a lot of Christians, religious people?
Yes.
Would you get that?
I do.
Why they will hesitate in even saying that? Yeah, I can do it. I'm not saying what you did was wrong. I'm just saying
I get you. But there's a thing of, value of time.
Okay.
Understanding that this opportunity was the best. How do I maximize this opportunity without keeping my integrity? Not offending in the Holy Spirit. And also ensuring that I maximize this opportunity. What's the best decision I can take here? And how fast can you decide?
Don't you think as is an innate thing, something that you already have? That
possibly,
right?
Yeah, but it can also be learned by observing those who were before you. Steve Jobs, those who were before you, how did they? Those who came from nothing, who really came from nothing and did not do anything illegal to get to the top. How did? Most time it's very similar. There's an opportunity that it was a yes or no thing. Nobody sat in their father's house and one helper came to knock on it. Nobody. So when you are from underprivileged, you're from,
no, you're absolutely right, yeah. This is so interesting. So you get a phone call and you don't sell rice, but then the person goes, I have 20 million worth of rice coming. If you're able to sell it, you get 10 million, hypothetically speaking.
You say, no, I don't sell rice because I'm a Christian. Does that make any sense? No. Is it possible that I can get someone that can? I won't call it Christian because that's not what Christianity is. It's either a lack of faith in yourself and your abilities, or just lack of hunger or drive.
I'm struggling to accept that people are not hungry enough. I'm struggling.
Yeah, saying
you're
hungry enough doesn't mean you're. Okay. Saying it's an action thing. It's in your daily steps. What are you doing to show that you are really hungry enough? I think if everyone examines, what they spend their 24 hours doing, they will know if they're hungry enough or not. I think it's pretty simple.
When you land in Lagos,
yes.
the Lagos airport,
yes,
the actions, the things that some of these officers are doing, all the way through to you come out, the people trying to extort money from you and all of that, all the way to you get to your house.
That's immoral. That's not drive or hunger. That's immorality.
Okay.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
What's the difference?
Right or wrong. You can slant it or what is really right, what is wrong, how do you determine? But everyone knows what is right or wrong.
The many people on the streets of Lagos, Accra, that are trying to pick up any deal they can see to try to make money, it's still not working out. To them, how do you really explain to them and how do they flip it?
Yeah. Okay. I think I'll probably need to go religious or Christian on this, because I believe in the Holy Spirit. I'm a Christian. And the Bible says, Christ will give us the power to make wealth, which means that power is not muscle. It gives us ideas, insights, steps to take to make wealth. The end is like the end product. So it tells you what to do per time. That the end product of those steps is wealth. So every step you make. That's why first I think the journey to I'm poor, I'm in this state. I think you need to first find Christ.
I see.
Yes, the Holy Spirit primary job is direction, insight, showing you what to do. That is why I can really never be poor. It's not possible. I always create solid products.
Have you not seen people who don't subscribe to any religion that have money? People who do not subscribe to any religion,
Yes,
but they become extremely successful.
but our backgrounds are different. Success is a personal thing. This is my situation.
Like,
I don't have a rich uncle. This is my situation. How do I get this? Your surest banker is your Holy Spirit. You don't know how the indices are favored that non-believer. You don't know.
So if you are a Christian, then
Yes.
your
Your surest.
is the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Great. If you are not a Christian, to success, right?
Yes.
Or however you define it.
Yes.
But what if you are not? You can't become successful?
For me, I can only tell you the way that I know. I'll say it's the only way.
Best.
Yes.
If I look at, if I pay close attention to what you've told me,
Yes.
and I visually get into the life that you had,
Yes.
mom and dad did not have much.
Yes.
You saw an opportunity to be around people who are
Yes.
wealthy.
Yes.
And then you learned a few things.
Yes.
You wanted to get yourself in there.
Yes.
So the conversation can only be finance, right? So when you were saying that things started working out, the
Yes.
opportunity you saw
Yes.
in the office,
Yes.
and then you made that decision,
Yes.
it was because you're looking for your head. You're trying to get your head
Yes.
out
But
the
also have the
waters.
Holy Spirit who tells me, oh no, do this, pay this amount, do this. What to do. You see, without it, you guess. You do a lot of guesswork. Then if it doesn't work a couple times, you get frustrated.
Okay.
And that's why these people turn 70, 80 and the poor. But you see, what the Holy Spirit does is precision. It turns 3 years to a month.
So can you be a Bible believing Christian and still be broke?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do we see that a lot?
I think there are more broke Christians.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
No. You having something.
but-
Same way we have countries with oil that are poor. They also have countries with oil that are very rich.
Yes.
It's what you do with it. The Holy Spirit tells you, but no action. It's what you do with it. It's not in the Holy Spirit telling you, or it's of course you always tell you. When at times you are too lazy, or you're making excuses, or you want to do it tomorrow instead of now. Timing is also a factor.
What is it about rich people that poor people need to pick up?
I think the ability to thinking. Poor people, we are too engaged. We are a lot is happening in our life, and none of these things is bringing any value. We are busy for nothing. Rich understands the value of time. A typical rich man understands what an hour is. 60 minutes. But 3 hours to a poor man is like 5 minutes. They don't know what 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. is.
Yeah.
Everything sounds don't worry. That's one major difference I personally have seen with some more successful people. They understand the value of time. And my mentor, Bishop Yedibo, one thing I learned from him a long time ago was the value of time. He said what changed his ministry. Well, when he just started ministry, traveled to the USA. And they realized that 5 minutes on American is 5 minutes. They won't spend 5 minutes, 10 seconds with you extra. He said that changed his life. He said if he fixes a meeting with you and you are 2 minutes late, he knows that you're not serious. So if we all value time, we'll achieve way more. Even if we make mistakes, we'll make mistakes faster.
Charlie. Like,
It sounds far from
no,
where I know.
It's profound. I love it. But somebody also says that time is an illusion. It doesn't exist.
It does. Because, especially as young people, we have very limited time. For a young man, when you have your first child or two, A lot of the things you want to do, you can't do them anymore. So your single period, that's the only time you have to take risks, to go crazy, to have crazy ideas and even fail. There's no pressure. You can make all the mistakes, go wild. A time will come, you can't be as creative. Even if you are the most creative person, a lot of pressure, a lot of, bills, a lot of, would limit how crazy, how wild, how creative. That is why, as a young person, it's very important to be audacious. Because even if the audacity puts you in trouble, you come out of it. You still have time to go again.
Do you really believe that you are working in your purpose?
100%. Yeah, it sounds easy to say, but it's what can you do that you know that this thing I'm really good at it. Anywhere they put me, I'll still be a star in this.
Okay.
If I see beyond other people are doing this, I can challenge them in this. And also what you do effortlessly that you really enjoy. That way you don't get burned out. That is why I really do not fear or envy competition. I don't get bothered because you are coming to my play field. You are coming to where, I really enjoy this. I really know this. I started enjoying it. I really know this thing. I didn't just stop with it because it's not a trend for me. It's not because, this is in vogue, let me do it. It's something that I really know and it's nature to me. That comes natural.
But like, how do you recognize that this is going to make me money and then go after it? Like, how do you make that decision? I ask that question because you have the music aspect of your company and then you have the podcast aspect. How do you decide that, okay, as someone, who is in the creator economy as well, this is an aspect that is going to be booming in the next few years. So let me get myself in there. How do you decide that?
Thank God for the internet. Before Glitch started, I was always surfing the internet, looking at what works in other markets and what no one is paying attention to locally. Okay, I think that's actually the value or why Africa is still very potent because a lot of things will come here 5-10 years later.
Yes, but the problem is sometimes you can pick what works in the West. Bring it here.
Yes. So I'm coming there. That's a knowledge issue. So discovering what is working there. What is my strength? What am I really good at? Okay, how do I with my strength and this idea? It's not how do I replicate this. No. This idea. What speaks to me naturally with my experience, with knowledge I've built, or the experience I've gathered that I can bring into my natural habitat and deploy to this local market. That is how great local products are made. Top companies I know, Flutterwave, Paystack, Chowdeck, these are Nigerian billion-dollar companies. They are not original ideas. The founders traveled at some point, maybe to Dubai, to America, see this product, see this. This is valuable to these people here. I think it will make sense to Nigerians. But how do I Nigerianize it? That's knowledge now. Because a lot of people just, copy and paste. How do I Nigerianize it? First, what is my core strength? Most of them are either developers or, it has to be in your strength. Of course, I didn't just start Glee sessions because it was in vogue. At the time I started it, no one was doing it. In Africa, it was just few brands like NPR, Tiny Desk, and Colors. Colors is a Belgian company. NPR is an American brand. And they were doing, one was doing live music, not live, instrumentals. NPR was doing live music, but more acoustic version. And Nigerians, Africans, we like a lot of grooves. I see this was working in that market. How do I bring this here? What's the best direction? First, I've already built experience over the years. Like I mentioned, maybe I didn't continue my journey. After that time, I've since worked with Thames, Fireboy. I become a tour director, music director, TV producer, head of production for TV stations. I've done a lot. I did a lot before Glitch. I understand sound design. I'm a multi-instrumentalist. I'm a music arranger. I have this, I was really great at it, these things. Like, when you think of this, people think of me. Before Glitch started, I had this foundation as a young man. So, and I saw this idea. I I knew my key strength. So bringing it to what I already naturally am good at, it's natural to me. So when I borrow, okay, NPR, colors, they are doing music, new form of expressions. With my strength, I'm already a music arranger. I'm a music director. So I understand music and how to create content, music content. So it was easy for me to just bring that experience to a new brand I launched. So the first post I made was an instant hit because knowledge and a working formula elsewhere. And I localized it by doing typical Nigerian music. I wasn't trying to, westernize it. It worked instantly. That way, stress is reduced. You pray less if you do your homework. You forget about village people if you really take your time to gain deep knowledge in that thing you're trying to copy.
You forget about who?
You forget about village people, and people, even competitors, you forget about them if you really, really know this thing. Africa, we are the continent of copycats. Most of us, we don't really want to do the hard work. We just want, okay, what is popping now? Oh, this thing is trending. Podcast is trending. Let me start the podcast. Oh, beauty pageant. There's a Miss World now. It's Nigerian. Let's start a beauty pageant. It never works. Never works. Maybe 1 in a million, 1 in 1,000 might work. But what are the chances that? Well, who's to tell that you'll be that one that will succeed? The odds are naturally against you if all you do is copy. So it's okay to be inspired, but copying, you waste resources, time, and all that, Yeah, so I think I've always leaned towards my strength. As well, if you listen to a glitch session or even a podcast,
Yeah.
there's a lot of knowledge behind it. There's a lot of, I know what I'm doing. So whoever I'm employing, I'm bringing to the brand, I know they know what they're doing. So you're coming to join this journey with me. Do you understand? So it's not gimmick, it's not a game of, we're not guessing or vibing, as it's called these days. There's a lot of knowledge.
Let me stop you here for a minute. So if it's your first time watching Connected Minds, or you have been here before but still have not subscribed, do us a favor, because majority of the people that watch our videos have not subscribed. This doesn't help us grow beyond what we expect. So help us by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you. Now let's get back to the conversation. I think when we were speaking, you made such a good point about how people jump onto things because everybody else is jumping on it, right? It becomes like, okay, this is the trend. Everyone is doing it. However, you look at the .com boom, for example, not everybody became a millionaire.
Yes.
As you mentioned, So what's always the differentiation factor that people should bring to the table, apart from what they're good at?
Okay, I think maybe I should start with, looking at a brand and what it takes to really build or be a brand, for a regular person. I think if for someone who's, maybe you're in school or you're young, you're just looking at your life, you're studying a course that you don't really like, you're just in that space now, like, what do I do with my life? I want to be a brand. I want to be this and that. I think first, according to me, attention.
Okay.
It's a huge currency. These days it's capital. I think you cannot even monetize a brand if you do not have attention and the right attention. Actually, attention is very critical. I think there's no business without attention. Even a shop, you need to know that shop sells XYZ to be able to attract customers. But for a creator, someone who wants to, exist online, attention is very huge. But how do you ensure that attention, it's something that is not burning you or really exhausts you? So I think that's also where I'd say creating a niche that is natural to you. By natural, I mean that these days a lot of people deceive themselves. You might be good at podcasting, or you think, what's he really doing? That's not a big deal. It's a big deal. You see, no matter how many shows I create, I will never start a podcast. Of course, I own top podcasts. So it's important to be true to yourself. Never lie to yourself, no matter how flamboyant that thing looks. Know your strength and be very comfortable there. The world will come to find attraction in that thing. I think most people are competing in the field that is not their strength. And they keep digging, they keep thinking, a lot of people, especially this digital era, the era of building in public, being in, put yourself in what looks conventional, what seems like is working. Your question is, what's the question again? For those who don't have,
The differentiation, how do people really differentiate properly so that they can increase their success rate in what they pick
yes.
as something they want to do?
So I think we have underestimated the value of experience.
Okay.
Working under an established authority or brand or company or individual. There's a lot you learn just serving those who have walked the path that you intend to or you wish to or you pray to. I think there's a lot you can learn. All the places I worked before I started Glitch, I decided to take the offer because of what they are. There's not just money. For instance, when I left Silverbed after 6 years working, I got promoted a couple of times. Moved to Lagos, all that. The next company I worked with, when they invited me for interview, I saw that there's a lot of structure. The first company I saw where people working there were driving cars.
Right.
First company I saw where they were clocking in. I saw the value time. There's aura of organization there. I knew, okay, even if, let's say when they even pay me lesser than I was earning there, I would learn organization here, I would learn structure, and, it was owned by the Lebanese. And in fact, I think a lot of what I know now in terms of, structure, systems, in growing a brand, managing humans, I learned it from that company, Cool FM. It is Lebanese. They pay attention to details. If a Lebanese man makes this cup, you won't see any form of scratch. The things that typical black man would overlook, let's just do it and go. No. They ensure that when it comes out, it's the best. Until I left there, all their products were number one in Nigeria. Cool FM number one, Nigeria Info number one, Wasobia number one. There are 3 different stations in the country of 2. One individual has a brand that nobody could.
Yeah,
because knowledge, attention to details. But if you don't work with or for structured establishments and you want to be CEO so fast, you want to be creator so fast, you want to be popular too early, you make too many mistakes and end up getting frustrated.
And there are a lot of them actually that in this day and age, they get the popularity, but they don't have any money because they don't know how to do it.
Yes.
And then it becomes a very miserable life.
Yes. For instance, in Nigeria, for glitch sessions, people wonder how we make money. We charge artists. People wonder, we should pay them, not them paying you. That's what people are wondering. How come they pay you to come on? Wow, how is it possible? Knowledge. The last place I worked was Cool FM under the Lebanese. I saw how to monetize brand. They knew the business of radio and TV. They knew it at the back of their hands. All I did was just, I was a production director. I didn't need to understand the business because I'm some skill thing. But I was monitoring other departments. How do they make money? They're making billions every year for a radio station to make billions. I was figuring out the business side of this radio station. What are they doing differently? How come they're making this much money? That helped me a lot. So when I started, Glitch, I didn't need to, a lot of things I didn't figure out because I already have this drive of knowledge.
Yeah.
I knew what to do. Few weeks later, people were already paying me for Glitch. I didn't need to wait and, pay XYZ, post my content. First post went viral. Elise already reaching out. Knowledge. So, but someone else will see Glitch is now viral. Podcast session is a new. They go on to launch. They borrow money or take money from their parents or whatever. It starts, and they are saying that but nobody. It's not working. What's it doing differently? Knowledge. They see the results. They think, it's not a big deal. Just put a studio, put lights. But you see, the song arrangements, I sit in on every session. Because I had never experienced working for a lot of artists. I did tour with Fireboy, Africa tour. I was arranging his live performance. I understand live performance. It comes natural to me. Not just natural. I studied it. I really love. I also have on-field experience. I know what version of a song, how to take it. Is it acoustic? Is it? I know what to do, how to reimagine a song that will create a new level of awareness to that song. Song you already know. I can create a new version of that song that you love. These are science behind it. I know all lighting to light. If you do the right song, the right lighting. These are things that came with experience, came with time. But you are copying my result. You miss it. I know Ashake, first time I brought Ashake, the only time really, it blew up after that. The session till now is evergreen. I strapped the song down. The lighting was red on him, just in the dark. If you watch it, it feels like a worship song. We're talking about random what they talk about in songs. But you see, it takes a lot of knowledge, to do that. But people replicate it. They replicate let's just shoot this thing, come on, or whatever. So it's a lot of knowledge thing, taking your time to go through a process, go under someone. And when you're serving, if your job is, for instance, you're the accountant, for instance, I think if you want to own a company, you shouldn't limit your day-to-day to just accounting. You look other ways. How else can I assist? What else can I bring? You might think, oh, I'm doing this, they only pay me to check the books. No, you're also learning. When you finally decide to run a company, you know the value of those extra things you're doing under people. You know the value of checking on the security guy for not wearing the right, shoes or uniform. For, checking on that. But if you only do the bare minimum because it's not my father's company, because they pay me chicken change, I only come and do my bit. Once it's 5 p.m., I'm going home. When you start your own brand,
they say you don't pay them enough. That's what our people say.
Yes.
That the companies don't pay them enough.
Yes.
So when they come in, they also do the bare minimum.
Yes. That is for people without vision. If you have a plan, I think the reason why you should take a 9 to 5 really is because you're on a journey. If you have a vision, that working should be to really, so give your best because you need it when you decide to manage people. This is now your company. I tell my staff a lot that one of the reasons why I think it also worked pretty fast is because all the places I worked, I gave them my all. I was staff of the year many times. Recommendation letter came from when I was Silverbed, the CEO Ben Bruce, who owns Silverbed Group, gave me a commendation letter a lot of times. Because I was doing way more than they're paying me for. I mean, way more than. I was sleeping at the office, even when I didn't need to. Although initially, because I couldn't afford, but even when I, could, I just wanted to, to understand other departments. The engineering guys, why this, most times they're not around, or someone goes down and says there's something that needs to be fixed. That way I already understand, okay, the science behind this. Just tiny knowledge, you need it when it's now your own company. Yes. Because if you don't, your humans will treat you. If you don't know a bit of when you own a company, you don't know a bit of every department, you're going to pay for it dearly. Because they'll capitalize on that ignorance.
Right.
So that's why the era of, you're not paying me enough, it's in the future, you regret it. Because when you decide to leave, I don't have to work for anybody, let me start my own company. Then, bare minimum, it's like habit. Even your own company, you start putting bare minimum because they're already used to putting bare minimum. It doesn't become, it's not my company, let me start working hard. I don't think it works that way. Habits are difficult to drop. It's like smoking, it's like robbing, it's like vices. It's difficult to drop. If you're a lazy person and you think, I'm lazy because they are paying me this tiny, you get used to it. And then also people who are employ mid people. Also. Because standard for you becomes, that, and and you start making up with prayers. Prayers cannot fix these things. Prayers cannot fix the things you should fix. Prayers cannot fix that. That's why you successful unbelievers, successful, because there's a part, there's my part. There's a part that you as a human, you have to play. No matter if you're a Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, doesn't matter. Nothing can replace that. Yeah. Answer the question.
Yeah, but it's interesting how Um, when a person starts to climb the ladder of self-fulfillment, they come to this realization, that all the things you've mentioned here, you spilled out here, like amazing stuff. And it's also interesting how people who never attempt to, they can't get it. Right? Because to some people, some of the things you're saying, the door is not opening. Why?
Let me use maybe the worst case scenario. You're there, you're here, you don't know anybody. Oh, I'm saying serve, but nobody's accepting you. No one is telling you, no, you don't know anyone that can, maybe like a mentor that you can serve on that, or no, there will be someone who I think necessarily might not be someone up there or someone who is popular or the company who is at the top. It might just be a typical small scale.
Right.
Nobody wants to start from A to B to C to D. People want A to R, then to S,
Okay.
then to Z.
Okay. So I say that if you have a dream of starting your own business,
Yes.
the best place you can learn from is a small business where you have direct access even to the CEO.
Thank you.
Because you will see how they run the business day to day. If you
you.
go in a big establishment, boss,
Yeah, you're not priority.
there are too many people and you never even get to see the owner of the company.
Nah.
So when I was, planning to start my business, I worked with Andrew directly. He didn't own the business. However, after the business owner, I saw Andrew. And everything I learned in that small shop, he allowed me to do it. He gave me the freedom because it was just me and him.
Thank you.
And, one or two other people. But people, yeah, you're right. People they want to work for the BBC instead of working for my small company.
Yes, and the guild you use this one is it popular online? No, I don't want to work here because it's not cool to put on the bio or to post. But that's not the goal, And I think life is in phases. In this stage, okay, I'm working here because I want to learn XYZ
Right.
for this period. While I'm here, it's okay if you say, okay, next year I want to also work here because of X, because success is personal. Most people, social media, we want to do things that look cool to the comment section.
Yeah. Best, you've built a successful media company. The Honest Bunch podcast has become very successful.
Thank you.
And, you're sitting on my podcast, but I commend you for the work you've done.
Thank you.
I think almost episode gets people talking. The comments are crazy. People are gravitating towards what you're doing. At least from Nigeria. Amazing. But you built a podcast in Ghana as well. Rant, Bants and Confessions.
Yes.
You did a few episodes. We saw it. The series were out.
Yes.
But then we didn't see it again. You were in collaboration. In fact, the studio you're working with was with
Jumbo Spaces.
Jumbo Spaces.
Yes, amazing.
What's happened?
Because the brand is bootstrapping, and I've always wanted the brand to be Africa centric. The name was very intentional, Bleach Africa. So I want, my vision is a platform where African creators get visibility, where we use the value of the numbers we have in Africa. Whoever comes on the network, enjoy African audience, and not just Ghana or Nigeria or Tanzania. I want my goal is Rand Bounce gets on our channel, and everyone in Africa gets to see these hosts, and they're able to monetize that visibility to all these markets. That from day one, that's my vision. For our music sessions, an artist comes on glitch sessions, and they get not just African visibility, but global because it's digital. And by the grace of God, to be able to do that with a few artists, sessions. Now we're trying to fully flesh it out a podcast session. So Ghana has been a very important market because most of our most successful sessions came from Ghana, Camido and the likes. It's a very important market to us. But I think we scaled the podcast arm to Ghana wrongly.
Okay.
So kind of the business wasn't working right. So because we do a lot of audit, a lot of overview, we do meetings and say, okay, how's this looking? Is it right way? How else can we do it? And also that's the value of owning a company where you know when to switch. You know when to. You don't have. So no one. I'm seeing the numbers. I'm seeing the back end. I'm seeing because the vision everyone working for Glitch understands the vision, So yeah, numbers are still great, but the other side in terms of production, we weren't getting it right, and so we said, okay, let's do it again. Let's, the way we've done it in Nigeria, that model is working. We need to own some things that are really crucial so we can reduce overheads in the market. I'm doing it, since late last year till now. So in a few to come back fully. We want to come back and not just, go seasonal, but we're here. It's home. So when you think of Glitch Africa here, it also feels like a Ghanaian brand. When you compete in South Africa, I think it feels like a South African brand because South African creators are creating platforms. A lot, the way every week a lot is going on in our content release in Nigeria. We want a lot more substance, a lot more sustained releases. Yeah, so that's really why we took a quick, step back. Aside the controversies that happened, but the business side of things, we need to get it right. Yeah, we're coming back very strongly.
There's always some issues with businesses scaling, right? So sometimes, like, you start a business and you're like, okay, cool, right? I want to go to Nigeria. I want to go to South Africa. I want to go here. Clearly, you've described that aspects of the branching off to come and do some things in Ghana has worked out.
Yes, yes.
But majorly, maybe the financial
Yeah,
aspect,
I like to mention that. Yeah, I personally even took it, realized that scaling and growth are very different.
Okay, talk to
You
me.
can be scaling. Looks like, oh, you're everywhere in new markets, but you're not growing. Growth is only measured with business. Are you making money from this growth, this scaling, this visibility? Else it's not affecting even the ventures that are profitable because you are drilling off the profits from that here. Of course, we have some markets we've scaled and even experienced growth like in Kenya and South Africa. But because Ghana is the first market, so we made that mistake. The first market we ever scaled to. I also passion. I wanted to be in Ghana so fast, so I was really pumping a lot of personal funds. But now and you see, that's why the value of also learning early and knowing when to pivot. Know, okay, this is not working. Instead of pride, instead of, I don't want to take a pause and do it right. No. That's how our business runs down. And you see a company that looks like, oh, they disappeared. It was very important that I listened to auditors that, oh no, this is a wrong approach. Like this, the creators that you want to ensure that they make a lot of money might not even scale fast because you'll be trying to recoup this a lot you are pumping. So it's better you take this investment off, do it like this, and thankfully there's a lot more clarity now. And yeah, apologies to our audience. We're coming back like very, very fast. Faster than at this time around, it's for real.
As a business owner, trying to take your product to a new market, what would you have done differently?
I think partnership, collaboration, more than doing it alone. I'm not a fan of partnership.
You're not a fan of partnerships?
Yes, because I think people might not understand the vision. I don't like explaining too much because what I'm doing is pretty much new. Yes, and I tend to let me do it myself. And I kind of did partnership a little bit and it didn't work because partnership is only partnership if both parties are looking at each other. We are aligned. This is what we're going to do. But if this will call it partnership, but you are trying to use me or I'm trying to use you, at some point, would have to fight or quarrel. Yes, I think the right partnership, what I would do, but also clarity. I think if you want to also partner, both parties need to sit and be honest, get clarity of this is what we're really going to do. Sometimes even contracts do not take away clarity.
I see.
Contracts do not. Both parties need to really be honest. But partnerships will always be the best way to especially for digital companies or brands. Even aside digital companies, you're partnering or you're licensing, which is almost in the same family, or you're saying, okay, use my image and likeness, but my back end we are doing XYZ. Those are two ways I've looked at that. It's for me, it's not what I like to do. I rather finance every market I go to myself. But it's smarter and faster to collaborate.
in Africa
Yes.
collaborate? Does it usually work?
It could work. It could work if we are just honest with ourselves. Of course, I've made a lot of mistakes. And I would even say partnership that it is from the other person. Some have come from me. But the thing with learning is it's very important to tell yourself the truth and know when it's your fault. Many times, maybe because you are the bigger brand, you tend to think every other person is the one who has a fault. Maybe I was a bit too proud here. Maybe all that. It's very important. Yes, I also learned a lot from that. So in new markets, that for instance in South Africa, of course, we always get a lot of offers. Oh, let's do this together. In the UK, oh, let's come to all that. Because of the clarity, because of learned, what I've learned. That's why thank God I started scaling early. So I've learned a lot in the past. And now, future collaborations, it's easier. You know what to avoid. But it's always better to collaborate. Because doing it alone is a lot of stress. You pump a lot of money into it. Yeah. And many times, your creators or the business might suffer for it.
What have you seen about the creator economy in Africa that you think creators are not aware of in terms of monetizing their brand?
I say two things. Let me just say the most weird ones. Is doing for doing sake. I think a lot of people think their creators are not. They just want to post something. I think, even for podcasts or other forms of content formats, we need to think a lot about the original idea of what I'm doing. How unique is this? Would anyone give me $1 million for this idea? If you are the one with $1 million, would you buy this idea, this content format? Think very long term. Of course, it's okay to be inspired by any content, even mine, even any of the successful global podcasts. But ensure that, aside putting a twist, you create a unique version of that. That is so unique that you struggle to look to trace the reference. You struggle to say, oh, it was stolen from this. It's so unique, primarily because of the feature of that content. The time will come where a lot of international brands want to offer $10 million, $20 million. It's already happening in the US. Say, oh, come, let's just license this to Amazon, to Netflix. Give me a 2-year contract, give me a year contract, I'll pay you $5 million for this. They only pay formats, shows who have undeniable formats. That is so unique. Part of the reasons why we're also reshuffling some of our shows. Format is very important. Of course, it's great to have viral, at least have viral shows, but format is important because that format is what you can sell, you can even replicate.
Right.
You can do different versions of it. Thank you. Netflix can do spin-off of it because the original idea. But if you are just copying because round dance is trending, let me just do another band and whatever. You get it doesn't. We won't stand the test of time. You might be king in your local, whatever, but everybody wants to maximize their products.
Right.
Everybody wants global visibility. Everybody. So it's important to ensure that it's unique. I think the best way to be unique as a Ghanaian or Nigerian or South African is to feed the local market, the local audience, the everyday people. I think nobody can, you can't beat that. You can't beat that. And it takes a lot of simplicity to create content that fits the uneducated, the truck drivers, the hawkers. Unfortunately, for instance, the Honest Bunch podcast, if you on the streets, people keke drivers watch it, you put Honest Bunch, people who typically will not listen to podcasts, because content is educative but simplified. Sometimes we put a lot of razzmatazz, drama here and there, we'll ensure that the format is undeniable. Anywhere in the world you see the Honest Bunch, you know that this is a Great African Studios Honest Bunch. You know this is Honest Bunch podcast. It's not even a set. If I take them to another set, you now just change the set. Change the set 3 times already. Because it's not in the set, it's in the show format. Nobody can be Derek more than Derek.
Yeah.
You get, no matter how the world AI decide to come, Derek will always be unique. You get, so most people decide to copy Kabi or whoever instead of just figuring out their strength and amplifying it to the best of their best possible models. I think yourself. I think that's what most creators and would-be creators, those who want to be a creator, need to pay attention to. Spend more time finding out your uniqueness. Then maybe borrow global strategies. Like strategies mean that maybe the direction of the video, the transitions, that can be copied. But you see, the content itself, the format, has to be as unique as possible. And I think we also need to be more audacious with our creative executions. Yeah, I think we are too lazy. We want to do the easiest way and just say something crazy on so that no. Crazy will come and go. But if it's as unique enough, over time you do the best minimum. Yeah, for this I'll keep doing what I'm doing for a long time because I really enjoy it and I know it. Anywhere in the world I go and start a show, podcast, it's always be on top. Because I really, really understand the science behind what I'm doing. Thank God I'm not a podcaster. I don't have to be. So I'm never fighting creators to be in front of the mic. It's not my thing. I will never be so my body is scratching me. Let me not be podcaster. It's not my thing. I know my path. I know where I belong. So I'll continually be the king of my thing really. I think it's important that everyone knows their strengths.
No, I love it. This has been it's been an awesome conversation. Awesome conversation. Now, is there anything we can still speak about that I haven't asked you?
I like to speak to young people who are being distracted by the new definition of success. Flamboyant, flashing lights, flashy cars, success that you don't know what they are doing. These days their new definition of what success is, what everybody aspire to be. Oh, I want to build this for young men specifically. Oh, I want to make money and just be able to carry this girl that I like, or I want to get this car. I think it's an endless loop. That when you really get there, realize that there's nothing exciting about this. Really. So it's important to find purpose early. And I promise you make money from that purpose. I promise you. Make sure you are very good at it. Don't be in a rush. Dedicate, this year, let me study. This is easy. There's AI. ChatGPT will give you pages of deep insights. Tutorials, study, invest money in lessons, pay for courses. Really be good at it. I think young people need more education in these new creative arts. But we keep seeing, questionable models. People who they can't even describe how they make money. Okay, you have the latest cars, you live how? They say glory to God. God did. That's what is that? That dash. You get? Yeah. I think that illusion. We need to. That's really why people like you and I, and even other successful people, need to speak more. We need to. Yeah, because if we do not, it's gonna be really bad. At least growing up, internet wasn't that rampant. So now there's a lot of CEOs online.
Especially when you go on LinkedIn.
A lot of CEOs, people who just left school last year, are now founder of. Everyone is in a hurry to be a role model.
And people are using AI to create something. They'll create something right now and say, I'm the founder of.
People are in a hurry. There's a lot. There's time. There's time. I worked for 11 years, different companies. That was my 9 to 5. Weekends and nights, I was doing music, going to studios with celebrities, arranging music, going on tours. I'll travel with Fireboy to tour in different countries. By Sunday night, we're back. Monday morning, I'm back to the office. These experiences, there's a period where you are not the superstar. You are not the boss.
Wow.
Because you are learning. Imagine them, because I'm seeing Fireboy, seeing Thames, I'm seeing it. I think I can sing like let me create. That's what people do. Because they've seen these people, you are not too close to them. You think, what are they really doing? It's not just to sing, they become musicians. That's what I'm talking about, telling yourself the truth. Knowing that I knew, no, okay, good, they're successful at this, they're superstars. Come on, I won't start release the track because Fireboy is my friend or feature Fireboy. No.
I was speaking to Chude and he said, as human beings, we tend to lie to ourselves a lot.
A lot.
We don't like to tell ourselves the truth.
We think
It
we are
is
what we are not.
the same way as when people are telling us the truth. It kicks us really bad.
Yes, and we dismiss it.
Yes.
Tell yourself the truth.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not that smart. It's fine, but you can be. If you see, the moment you realize that this is where I am, that's the beginning of freedom. This is really where I am. At least you realize that, okay, this is where I need to be. How do I build the blocks one after the other? But many people never ever come to that realization. They think, what is that guy doing? It's not a big deal. I can do it.
Wow.
You cannot. I can tell you for free. You cannot. You cannot. When the lot of things I've started in Nigeria, for instance, when I started podcasting, everybody started in podcasting. I used to watch a lot of movie trailers, a lot. The movie trailers, what movie trailers does is it creates an illusion of the movie that most times movie trailer is even more interesting than the movie. I thought I could bring this to podcasting. It wasn't a thing. So I brought it to the Honest Bunch. If you watch Honest Bunch, when I started this, it wasn't a thing. You see the trailer, boom, boom. Put someone something, so I started it. I did it myself. I created it.
Yes.
I posted it. The first one went crazy. People were waiting for this episode to drop. Because imagine someone else trying to copy me.
Yeah.
You either spend so much money looking for someone that would try different formats till you get it. But me, I just took one Saturday night. I went to the office, the editor's laptop. I was doing it myself. I created it. I found what I wanted. Experience. I've done sound design many times for a lot of course. Do you get? That is why I always tell yourself the truth. Yeah. But even when I did that, people started copying it. But what I do is every season I create a new format of that. You catch up. You keep catching up. You keep catching up. While, because I already have a bank of experience, I'll keep adding more. You keep spending way more to catch up with me because you need more guys. All I need to do is just teach one of my boys the new whatever, and they're doing it. Or sometimes I even do it myself. For instance, the new season, I've missed touching, softwares on doing motion, and I did it myself. I just went to the car. I was really busy that period. I parked. I told them, "No, give me the address." I designed it. Check millions on TikTok, Twitter, millions of course. You get someone is already trying to copy that already right now. I'm very sure you get. Well, see, that's the loop. But if you know where you are at time, this is my strength. I can be the best here. What resources, what training do I need? I think everyone will be happier.
Awesome. Motivation or discipline?
Motivation
or discipline in the pursuit of greatness?
Discipline, because there's also things, that discipline will help you. When results start coming in, you can get a lot of distractions. You can do vices that you never imagined you would. Like carrying things that you never thought you would be able to carry. Like getting addicted to things that you typically, but discipline kind of helps you, keeps you in check.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure. I hope I kind of...
Oh, no. You did amazing.
Thank you.
Like I said, today we're in Lagos, Nigeria. For my viewers and to my listeners, thank you for making it to the end. And drop a comment below and let me know if you made it to the end. And if you haven't subscribed, please don't. Thank you. I'm out.